All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Today we're going to learn about the circumcision. What exactly happened when Abraham circumcised himself, that we know. But we're going to learn something else a little bit. Abraham, it says that he did the whole Torah before it was given. Abraham did the whole Torah before it was. How could that possibly be? Because the Torah was really before the world. The Torah is the blueprint of the world. You think that the Torah is just a religious book, it's just something that they sort of stuck on to the world, and the world is really more real than the Torah. It's not so. God is more real. God is more real than the world, and the Torah is the wisdom of God. So the Torah is one of the highest aspects, if you want to say, of God, and God is more real than even the spiritual worlds. Which that's almost the theme of all these speeches, all these classes that we're giving, is to understand how incredibly high and important this world is to the God, infinitely more than heaven and all the other worlds. Okay, so all the heavens and all the upper worlds are created by means of the Torah. The Torah is the blueprint of creation. To us, it looks like another book in the library, but also the Jewish people look like any other people, and the world looks like also like a very mundane sort of how do you say the interaction between all these physical forces and things, but it's not so. The world is being created by God, and the world is being created by God for a purpose, a very godly purpose, a godly purpose, which will be revealed by Moshiach, but for the world, by God, the heavens and the spiritual worlds are just a means to an end, and the end is what we do here right now. So one of the ways that we just finished learning about this, that's the idea of the circumcision that Abraham brought to the world. The circumcision is removing concealments. Removing concealments. Really, this world is really very, very important to God, and we don't see God. We don't see the meaning of the world. We don't see, and the poor purpose of the circumcision, and in the Jewish people in general, that's the covenant with the Jewish people, is to remove what's concealing God, to remove what's concealing the truth, remove what's concealing. And we just finished learning about that, right? Chash, mal, and etc. Okay, now we have another question. How did Abraham know what to do? What was right and what was wrong? I mean, God told him some things, but there was some merit by which it's almost like someone once, the Israelis, sometimes the education system is just incredibly terrible. So I was having this conversation with someone, this was years ago. What is a Jew? What is Abraham? And he said, well, Jews are that when the Jews began, they began with the establishment of the state of Israel. That's when Judaism began. That's what he said. So I said, well, how did you know who a Jew is? He says, well, whoever Hitler wanted to kill, that was a Jew. So I said, but how did Hitler know who was a Jew? How did he know? The Jewish people must have been there before the Holocaust. How did he didn't know. Then the person didn't know. And so, I mean, really, it's basically the same type of a thing over here. How did God know who to give the Torah to? The Judaism started with the Torah. How did God know who to give the Torah to? Well, the Jews were in Egypt. So how did the Egyptians know who to enslave? Who was a Jew? So the answer is that started with Abraham. So how did Abraham know how to be a Jew? How did he know what a Jew was? So it says that Abraham knew the whole Torah before it was given. He knew spiritually. He knew the whole Torah that was given because the Torah is the wisdom of God, and all Abraham wanted to do was what God wanted. That's all he thought. And he contemplated and meditated and etc. until finally he revealed what the truth is. Self-sacrifice. He revealed the truth. He revealed what the truth was. Okay. Exactly what that means, I tell you the truth, I really don't know. But somehow or other, he got to the essence of the Torah before the Torah was given. But one thing, so he did all the commandments spiritually. And whatever he could do physically, he did physically. So he couldn't put on tefillin, actual tefillin, because physical tefillin weren't there. But he could have circumcised himself. He could have done it. It's one of the commandments of the Torah. So there's a lot of answers that this is a question which is known. There's a lot of different answers that are given. One answer is that because he would be maiming himself, and you can't maim yourself unless God tells you to. You can't on purpose maim yourself. Okay, that's an answer. I don't know how good of an answer that is because Abraham allowed himself to be thrown into a fiery furnace, but it's an answer. The Rebbe here gives a different answer. The answer the Rebbe is going to give is that circumcision is a physical thing, but it has tremendous, deep spiritual and even more godly implications. That's what we just finished learning for the last 3 days, right? 3 days. And the main thing is removing. It removes what's concealing God, the truth. So, but that's only a preparation for the big circumcision that God is going to make. And it says God is going to circumcise our hearts. So here we go. Let's go. Ready? Let's go. What this means, we'll see. This is the idea of this is Mashiach. I think I'm Mashiach. There's going to be a change in our hearts will change. Here we go. It says on that very day, Abraham was circumcised. What do you mean was circumcised? It wasn't that was. He circumcised himself. He had to do it himself. Give him the credit. It says, no. It's not that he circumcised himself. He was circumcised. Who did it? We'll see. Lahavin, to understand Akusha, the question, Hanizkar B'Sforim, which is mentioned in books. Mipenema, why? Why is it Avram, that Abraham, lo mal et atzmo, did not circumcise himself? Why did Avram not circumcise himself? Kodem, before. It says that Abraham knew the whole Torah and he fulfilled the whole Torah. Before it was given. Abraham was 400 years before the Torah was given. He said that he even knew the laws that the rabbis were going to make. There's a rabbinical law called Eruvi Tavshilin. Well, having Zet to understand this, so Abraham did everything, even the smallest details, everything that he could do with his body to serve God in the way that the Torah says. That's what the Torah is, to tell you how to serve God. Everything that he could do, he did before the Torah was given. It says he even kept Passover, etc. So why didn't he circumcise himself? Why? So the Rebbe says, "Lahavin zet." To understand this, we have to understand first of all what is circumcision. What is milah? It is written, "Lo b'shamayim." It's a sentence in Deuteronomy that the Torah is not in heaven. This, by the way, is the sentence that's like the theme of the Tanya, of the book the Tanya, the Chabad book Tanya. Lo b'shamayim hi lemor. It says korov elecha davar mod. It's very close to you. To serve God is very close to you. It's very, very near. Don't say that it is in heaven. To say mi yalel lanu hashamayim, who's going to go up to heaven to bring this down? It's not so. After Mount Sinai is very close to you. Very close. But let's look at the sentence. It says, "Mi hu yaleh will go up lanu for us, Hashemayim to heaven, and bring it down. Bring the Torah. The Torah is not far away that you have to say go up to heaven to bring it. The Torah is right here." Okay, let's look at these 4 words. Mi yaleh lanu Hashemayim. The first letters of this are milah, mem, yud, lamed, hey. Milah, circumcision. And the last letters are God's name. Yud, then Hey, then Vav, and then Hey. Now, the first letters of words, this is, the world is created from the Torah, right? So the letters of the Torah are really units of creative force. The Torah, so to speak, is not part of the world. The world is part of the Torah. The world is in the Torah. So let's look at the word. The words of the Torah are tremendously important. The first letters of every word are usually more potent than the last letters. So here we have the first letters are milah, mem, yud, lamed, hey, the circumcision. And the last letters are God's name. So it ends up the circumcision somehow or other is more powerful than God's name. How is that? We'll see. The first letters are milah, and the last sof tevas, and the last letters are havai yud, God's name. The inyan is like this. How can circumcision be higher than God? What does that mean? The inyan is like this. Tehine, behold, techila, first of all, it says, there's a sentence in the Torah that says, umaltem et orlav lavavachem, that you should circumcise the foreskin of your heart. That's what we've been talking about basically up to now. In the 3 days previously, we could see, but then there's another sentence that says, there's another sentence that says that God, He will circumcise your heart. Another sentence. So on one hand, it says you have to do it on your own. You have to circumcise your heart. You have to remove your egotism and your false values and your false reactions and your false desires and your false fears. You have to remove this false hates and false loves. You have to remove that. It's removing the foreskin of your heart. But then there's another sentence that says that God has to do it. So if God has to do it, let Him do it. Why should I do it? Says the Rebbe, I'll tell you, because there's two types of circumcision. One you have to do on your own, maltem milamata lamayla, from below to above. Shetzarichem, that we must circumcise the foreskin of our heart. Foreskin of our heart. A person is born. Most people, the males, are born with foreskins. What's foreskins? Part of you. The same thing. People are born naturally with bad character traits. Everybody has bad character traits. Everybody. They differ between different people, and they differ in magnitude, and they differ in quality and quantity. But some people have a tendency to get angry. Some people have a tendency to be stingy. Some people have a tendency to be lazy. Everybody has some problem with their soul, their personality. Everybody. That's what the Rebbe made a whole big speech about homosexuality, that he said that there's people that say that it's natural. And the Rebbe said, of course, everyone is born with natural self-destructive tendencies. Some more, some less, some different. This is a natural self-destructive tendency that is part of human nature. Not everybody has it. Some people do, but it's a thing that has to be removed. No, a person that gets into that type of desire or any type of desire, it seems to the person that's part of him. That's him. Why should I remove it? Why should I remove my desires, my lusts, my this? So it says, no, that's what the Torah says. The Torah says you have to circumcise yourself. It's a very difficult thing to do, right? You have to have a lot of contemplation. You have to think about it. You have to really work on yourself. And sometimes it's very difficult, like even stopping smoking, tremendously hard. Overeaters, right? You have to stop. Okay, so that you have to circumcise yourself so that you don't self-destruct. You don't self-destruct. This is what's called tshuva. This means returning to your true self, to who you are. Like it says, you must return to God, your God. He's the creator. Return back to the creator. A lot of times they have a recall, right? They call back cars. Everything. Some things are Toyota. I think it's always Toyota. That's the Toyota recalled today 500,000 cars because the brakes were bad, because the lights were bad, because of this or that. Same thing. We have to recall ourselves. We have to do something because our personality is bad, our anger is bad, our patience is bad. So we have to think into it. That's called tshuva. Return, go back to the factory, to the creator, and he'll fix it up. That means return to the creator. The creator is close to us. He wants to fix it. That's what the rabbis say. If the Jewish people do tshuva, if the Jewish people just return to their true identity, then there'll be a redemption. And if not, then there won't be a redemption. There won't even be. They don't want to be redeemed. They just want to keep doing what they're doing, to continue self-destructing. That's what I want. Leave me alone. Says the Rebbe, but our job and our ability is to circumcise ourselves, to circumcise our hearts, that our heart will not desire wrong things, it won't be afraid of false things, etc. Then Then it says the Jewish people, if they do this, then they'll be redeemed. Then all the Jewish people big miracles. And the Rebbe said, Lubavitcher Rebbe said in many speeches that this has already been done. The critical mass of Jewish people have already returned, and Mashiach has to come in a second. But in any case, it's still irrelevant to us. For those of us that have not done it, it still is relevant. So we have to circumcise our heart. But after Kibbutz Galios, after Mashiach comes, and he builds the holy temple, third temple comes down from heaven, and he brings all the Jews back to Israel, that gathering all the exiles, then it says, V'haviechel eretz hatova, God will bring you to the good land. Then this is going to be the circumcision lamata, milamai lamata, from above to below. Then God will make a change in us. Mal Hashem et lavavecha. God will make a change in us. Our hearts will be different. I think I told you the story. I think I told you the story probably 50 times, but I'll tell it again. That it could be that I even told it yesterday. That someone that I know, either someone who told me that it's from someone that he knows, or the person that did it told me, I forgot. But in any case, a semi sort of religious Jew, an Israeli, and a totally not religious, anti-religious Jew, a Yemenite Jew. The Yemenites, when they came to Israel, they were all very religious, but the Israeli government made tremendous efforts to strip them of the religion, and they succeeded amazingly. So this is a Yemenite guy that even his father wasn't religious, could be. Anyway, so they had some sort of a store together. I think it was a garage, an auto garage, mechanics. And once in a while, the semi-religious one, he would go to get $1 from the Rebbe. The Lubavitcher Rebbe would stand every Sunday and he would give out dollars to people. And the idea was that he would give them $1 and they would then give this $1 or exchange it and give $1 to others. So they would give charity, to encourage charity. And the Rebbe would also bless people. A simple blessing. Bracha v'hatzlacha. You should have blessing. Anyway, so the semi-religious one, he always would badger the non-religious, anti-religious Israeli to go to the Rebbe. So he refused. Finally, after like a year of this, he said, "Okay, I'll go with you. How long is it going to take?" So they went. There was a big long line, but he figured he'll stand in line and at least he'll get this guy off of his neck. And they went to the line, and the semi-religious guy, he got $1 first, and the Yemenite guy that was standing behind, the non-religious, the anti-religious, he was after him, and he got $1. And after they got out from the Rebbe's, the synagogue where the Rebbe was giving the dollars, so the religious one turned to the non-religious one and said, "No, what do you think?" And the non-religious one didn't even talk to him. He went across the street, he had a big afro, haircut. He went across the street to the barber, got his haircut, went next door to the religious, what is it called? The Judaica store, bought a pair of tefillin, bought a talit, a small talit, a big talit. And his friend said, he said, no, he wants to go to the mikveh or something. His friend said, what happened? And the Yemenite guy said, I don't know. I have absolutely no idea what happened. I went by the Rebbe, I looked at his face, and I said, that's it. I'm a Jew. And it just changed me totally. Changed him totally. Now, I don't know how long it lasted, but let's suppose if it lasted even 1 minute, there's no reason to suppose it couldn't have lasted longer. And he made a decision. He knew the implications of the decision. All right, he grew up in Israel. He knows what religious Jews are. In other words, his heart changed. But it changed from above. It's not a thing that he sat and he thought about and he read books and he went and listened to lectures and he talked to friends and something like that, or he made big mistakes and suddenly he realized it. From nowhere, all of a sudden, his heart changed. So this is the thing that's going to happen to everyone. Like it says, like it says, that God will bring you to the land of Israel and do more good to you than your forefathers. What is good? Good, Rav Tuvacha Asher Tzavanta. This is a type of good, Tov, which is concealed. And what do we say that circumcision is? To reveal what is concealed. And we're saying there's a type of good which is concealed. Good is light, synonymous with light. Light, we'll see. This is talking about Moses. Moses, it says that there was good, was revealed. The good was revealed. Why Moses was good, it was revealed? Because it says that Moses was born circumcised. Let's go. Let's do this. Shenoad Mohul, that Moses was born already circumcised. And it says the house filled up with light. What happened over here? Why can't I do this? All right, let's do this here. A little bit more. There we go. Moses, that he was born circumcised. Kativ, it is written, Vatira oto kitovu. It says when Moses was born, that he was born, it says that they saw he was good. What does it mean that he was good? Rashi said that the house got filled with light. And another explanation was tohu, that he was born circumcised, Moses. Mila, this first level of circumcision, which is from below to above. That's what we do. This is an arousal from below, eteruta delatata, an arousal from below. The eteruta delatela, and the revelation, which is how God is going to react to the circumcision that we do from below to above, both the physical circumcision and the heart circumcision, that we circumcise our heart, we remove the foreskin of our hearts. God is going to react to this because it's a basic principle of Hasidut and of Judaism that God reacts to what we do. Not necessarily when we want and how we want, but how he wants, but he always reacts. What we do has an effect on God. That's the way God set up the world. That's the way God set up the world. That's why God set up the world. He set up the world so that we would have an effect on him. We would do his will. It says the arousal from below, that's what we do. We circumcise ourselves and we work on our heart to circumcise our heart as well. What's the arousal from above? How does God react? This is what's going to be after Mashiach comes and brings all the Jews to Israel. Then God is going to circumcise our hearts. He's going to make us different. He's going to change the urges of man. In the Almila Shnia, on the second type of circumcision, that's going to be after God gathers up all of the exiles and after all the Jews do all the Torah, and there'll be the Holy Temple. We can do the Torah. Kativ, it is written, Mi yale lanu hashamayim. That's what the sentence says. Who will go up for us to heaven? The first letters are circumcision. This is a type of circumcision which is above God, above God's name. First, the letters are Mila, circumcision. This is the circumcision from above to below. This is above the level of the Torah. Above the Torah. As it is now, tshuva is above the Torah. If a person transgresses, God forbid, the whole Torah, as he can repent. A person just repents, says, God, I'm sorry, I'll change my ways. He changes his heart, he changes his actions, he changes all of his priorities in life. You're going to be my first priority. That's called doing tshuva, and that's already above the Torah. That's already above the Torah. God forgives him, even though he transgressed the whole Torah. But that's not really about, it's connected to the Torah. He's returning, he's changing, how do you say, his attitude toward the Torah. But on the Torah, it says, Lo b'shamayim, the Torah is not in heaven. Why? Nishpala lamata. Because the Torah was brought down here in the physical world. Like it says in the Talmud that Rabbi Yeshua said, Ein mashgichin b'bat kol, that you don't listen to a heavenly voice. It's a long story, but the point of the story that what Rabbi Yeshua was, there was a big argument between the rabbis. That's the whole Talmud is filled with arguments. God wants there to be these arguments. He puts different ideas in different people's minds. Different people have different ways of looking at the Torah, and that's all the arguments which are in the Talmud. So once Rabbi Yeshua had a big argument with all the other rabbis, and Rabbi Yeshua said, to prove my point, there were other things that he did also, but to prove my point, a voice will come from heaven and say that I'm right. And a voice came from heaven and said, the law is like Rabbi Yeshua. And the rabbi said, Ein mashgichim b'bat kol. We don't listen to heavenly voices. Why? Because God gave the Torah here. After he gave the Torah here, Ein a Torah b'shamayim. The Torah is not up in heaven. The Torah is below it. The Torah is below heaven. We rabbis, the rabbis decide. That's why it's so important, the Talmud. Because God empowered the rabbis to decide what the laws are. There's qualifications. Not everybody can be a rabbi. But that's called Torah Hashem. It's called the Torah of God. It's in the world because God is Yud Tzimtzum, the letters of God's name. Yud Kei Vav Kei is how God contracts himself and brings himself into the world. Yud is God's wisdom. Hey is God's understanding. Vav is how God is drawn down into the world. That's aspects of God in the world. The Torah is drawn into the physical world. But Mila, this thing of God circumcising our hearts, This is something which God does above the name of God. This is above any conception, any idea. It's above the spiritual. It's above the creator of the spiritual. It's an aspect of God, which is the essence of God, the essence connection of God to the Jews. Ad Shehu Barosh Tevis, this is the first letters of God's name, and the last letters, these are the first of Mila. That Mila is the first letters, and the last letters are God's name. Therefore, he bechinas umadregas hashemayma. Therefore, the Torah is like heaven, like heavenly levels, and this new circumcision that God is going to make is in the future is going to be above that. And that's why Abraham didn't circumcise himself, because he was preparing for this circumcision from above, that he was waiting for God to tell him to do it. All the other commandments he did on his own, and this commandment he said, I'm not going to do on my own. It'll be an impetus, it'll open up the door for all the Jewish people to do circumcision. And we say today that we're doing the circumcision because of Abraham. Abraham did it from below to above. He did it, right? He said, no, not exactly. Abraham did not do it totally from below to above. Abraham didn't do it on his own like he did the rest of the Torah. Abraham waited for God to command him. And this is hinting at the circumcision that God is going to make from above to below. God's going to do it on his own. Now, again, what is this circumcision? That God is going to change us. We are going to be different. Man is going to be different. We won't have the same lust, the same desire. Something like what it was after the flood. After the flood, the Rebbe has a big speech, a beautiful speech about this, that after the flood, God put a rainbow in heaven, and the Rebbe explains he put it in heaven to tell us that there's never going to be another generation that's going to sin like that generation of the flood, because God changed the world with the flood. He changed man's desires with the flood. When the flood came, there cannot be the same level of decadence as there was in the time of the flood. Not even in San Francisco or wherever it is, even though they're trying. I mean, they're trying very hard to do it. Parish, what does it mean? Gedola Mila, this is the big Mila, the big circumcision, but this is the big circumcision which is from above to below. That God, he's going to circumcise our hearts. And therefore, Nichos, says that this circumcision was done with 13 covenants. Parish Ki Yadu, like it says, that God made a covenant. This is above understanding. A covenant is above logic. We talked about this before. What is a Mila? Is the covenant between God and us. It says a covenant means, a covenant means that we make an agreement that even if all of the forces of the world tell us to break the agreement, we can't. We made a brit. That's what a true covenant is, a true covenant, right? They make a blood covenant, whatever. No matter what happens, I'm going to be loyal to you. You're going to be loyal to me. That's what a brit is. So God made this covenant with the Jewish people, the circumcision, that we're going to be loyal to him, and God's going to be, and God will always be loyal to us. And we see strangely the Jews that are circumcised because of Judaism, that they have this how do you say, indelible connection to God. They could deny God, they deny the Torah, they deny everything, they change their religion, but deep down they say, yeah, but I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew and I changed my religion. I'm a Jew and I'm an atheist. I'm a Jew and I'm a communist. This is an attachment which is above an like, for instance, two people who love each other and they make a covenant to be loving one another. Namely, that's why it says that divorce is permissible in Judaism, but it's a very, very bad thing because you're breaking a covenant. It's showing that the agreement that you made when you got married, that it was a false one. You didn't really do it with all of your heart. Not good thing. But I mean, it's permissible. It's totally permissible to do, but not, how do you say, not praisable. That's what a covenant is, that two people who are good friends, they love each other, they make it liot oavo, that the love will be there, even if there's not drawn, even if the other person doesn't love me afterwards, mitzad seichel, because there's all sorts of logical reasons why not, but nevertheless, their love is there because, let's see if I can do this here. No, what happened? 1 minute. Yeah. Oh, 1 second. Something. Oh no, I didn't go. I didn't go to the next page. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Here it is. What happened? What happened over there? Here it is. Here. Okay, that's a brit. Nevertheless, he forces himself to love the other person above understanding and knowledge. The Kachan also, so also, in order that there should be a revelation of this big circumcision that there is before, God made 13 covenants, the 13 attributes of mercy, which they are above wisdom, they're above understanding, they're above any comprehension. That's the deep connection which God has with the Jewish people. No matter what, God will never leave us. But we see the Jewish people do not reciprocate. As in the future, when God gathers all the Jews together and brings them to Israel, then every Jew will want to reciprocate. It'll be a whole different level of tshuva. Lochach, therefore, it's above even the name of God. Lamaylam bebechinas Torah, it's above the Torah. Just like the 13 attributes of mercy, they're above the Torah. Right? Therefore, slichas avim, like we said before, where do we get the 13 attributes of mercy from? The Jewish people got out of Egypt. God took them out. Big miracles, amazing. God gave them bread in the desert and split the sea for them. And in Mount Sinai, everybody saw God. It says panim lapanim, and their souls jumped out of their bodies. And they heard God say, "Don't worship any other gods." And 40 days later, when they thought Moses wasn't going to come down from Mount Sinai, as they worshipped the golden calf. So worshiping the golden calf is the worst sin in mankind. There's never been such a bad, everybody heard God say, don't do it. And everybody knew what God was. Everybody knew how close God was and how God cares about them. And everybody worshiped the golden calf, either passively or actively. God wanted to wipe out all the Jewish people. And Moses said, come on, forgive them, God. If you don't forgive them, then wipe me out. And God said, okay, I'll give you the 13, I'll forgive them. And Moses said, give me a way to pray to you because the Jews are going to do it again. And God said, okay, I'll give you a big secret. Here's the 13 attributes of my mercy. This touches on my 13 attributes of mercy, that I'll forgive the Jews no matter what they do, no matter what they do. So if so, this is above the Torah. Even if the Jews go against the whole Torah. So God says, I'll forgive. But the problem is that God said, it's almost like two separate things, God and the Jewish people. God said, in the future, I'm going to reveal these 13 attributes of mercy. They emanate, or they're connected to the 13 covenants, brits, that I made with the Jewish people, that I will never leave them. And there had to be 13 because the Jewish people will probably figure out 13 ways to drive me crazy, to go against this, to go against me. So there's 13 aspects of mercy, to deeper and deeper and deeper, to forgive all sins, just because they're Jews. And on this, it says, Ad Yavor Amcha Hashem, Ad Yavor Amcha, Ad Yavor Amcha Hashem. This is when the Jewish people went over Yam Suf, when they went over the Red Sea. That's what it's called. So they sang a song, and the song says, until the Jewish people went over, they went over God, God's name. What does it mean? The Jewish people went over, they went higher than the name of God. That's the 13 attributes of mercy. It says Vaya'avor. It also says that it's higher. It's higher than any aspect of God. So this is God's connection with the Jewish people. It's higher, deeper, more infinite and unchangeable than we can possibly imagine. It's the essence of God. So now we can understand why Abraham did all the Torah before it was given, and he didn't do the commandment of circumcision. Why? Because Abraham wanted to reach this level of the big circumcision that was from above to below. The circumcision that God is going to do after he gathers all the Jewish people together. And therefore, Abraham did the whole entire Torah. The Torah was below this circumcision, but afterwards he merited to this level of circumcision, which was going to be given to all the Jewish people when God gathers them, the circumcision from above. In other words, God is going to change our hearts. the tendency of a heart of a Jew is that they like idolatry. Jews like idolatry. Jews like to do sins. That's the nature that's the way God created us. We're a stiff-necked people both ways, to do good and the opposite. Stiff-necked means no matter what I have made up my mind, I'm not going to change it. Like Abraham, I'm going to do good. You can do whatever you want to me, God. I still believe in you. And the other way is do whatever you want to. Take me out of Egypt. Give me the Torah. I'm going to do what I want. And God and Moses said, listen, you know the Jewish people, that's what they're going to do. So, and I don't wipe them out. It's not going to benefit anybody. They're connected to give me a trick that I can pray to you and evoke these 13 attributes of mercy. And God said, listen, you're doing exactly what I want. The fact is, I don't want to destroy the Jewish people, and I'm never going to destroy the Jewish people. And now I'm going to show you where this comes from. And he gave him the 13 attributes of mercy. That's the 13 covenants that God made, the 13 circumcision, so to speak, that God made. That's why Abraham, it doesn't say that Abraham circumcised himself. It says that he was circumcised. Lokati v'imo. It doesn't say he circumcised himself, but what? It says, like it says by Yishmael. It says by Yishmael, it says that Abraham circumcised Yishmael. Abraham did it. By Yishmael, it says that he circumcised him. But with and the same day that Abraham circumcised himself, it says he circumcised. But by Abraham, it doesn't say that Abraham circumcised himself, even though he did. It says that he was circumcised. Someone else did it to him. Who did it to him? Who did it? So it says that was hinting at this circumcision that God is going to make in the future. This is the circumcision which is above. Like it says, it says you should circumcise you should circumcise the foreskin of your heart. But Abraham, he merited to this level which God, Mal Hashem et levavacha, God will circumcise your heart. Therefore, it says Nimol Avram. So the question you're going to have, is, come on, I mean, how is God going to gather all the Jews together and they're going to maintain, their Jewishness? This already this happened before. The Jewish people were in the land of Israel and they had the first temple and there was a Medinat Halacha and everything was the way it was supposed to be. What was the problem that they did back then? What they did back then, and they're not going to do it now. So the answer is, back then, God didn't circumcise their hearts. Their hearts, their egotism was stronger than their Judaism. And in the future, it's not going to be that way. In the future, people are just going to do the truth because it's true. A Jew will no sooner leave Judaism than he will cut off his leg, because your leg is part of you. He'll feel that Judaism is part of him. It's a covenant that they'll never separate themselves from God. That's what it means. That on that very day, Nimul Avram was circumcised. What does it mean? In the essence of that day, in the essence of the light of revelation of God. This is going to, which day? We're talking about the day which is totally long and totally good, when God gathers all the Jews together. That's the essence of that day, namely that big revelation that's going to be in the future, that revelation of Rav Tuvacha, of God's great goodness. That Moses was good. This is going to be a great goodness given to every Jew. This is the day that Kol Tov, that is totally good. This is, by the way, why the Jewish people were against Moses all the time, because Moses was coming from a whole different level of truth and good, and the Jewish people, it interfered with them. That's another one of the reasons for anti-Semitism. They call it, and their Jew hatred, because the Jews are coming to tell the world things that's going against their nature. It's like going up to someone in the street and say, "Excuse me, sir, are you circumcised? Can I circumcise you on the street?" The guy will say, "You're nuts, get away from me." No, I have a knife and everything. Right? Get the police, right? Hold them down. I'm going to circumcise you. You can't, right? The Jews want to circumcise everyone's heart, and people don't want that. Not only that, God is going to circumcise all the Jewish people's heart. The Jewish people don't want that. But nevertheless, it's going to happen. Why? Because Abraham opened up the door for it to happen. And deep down, every Jew wants it to happen, to reveal this essential connection, infinite, indelible connection that every Jew has with the truth, with the essence of the Creator, to make this world a perfect place by means of Mashiach now. And I have to go somewhere. So I'm not going to be able to give a second class. I'll give it later, God willing. I have to go somewhere now, and I'll talk about it later. Later on in the day, I'll give the second class on Devar Malchut, and I'll tell a story, and we'll do the Yom Yom. Shalom Uvracha. God bless you all, and to be continued.